is Becky Hoskins. I'm the director of the TRIO Student Support Services program here at OCTC. And
I'm Sharma Davis. I'm the director of cultural diversity here at OCTC.
We appreciate everyone showing up today for our celebration. We are here to celebrate all of our first generation students. And I just want to clarify a little bit about what first generation means. A lot of students don't quite understand the terminology. The first generation, according to the federal government, it means that you are the first student to attend college because neither one of your parents received a bachelor's or 4-year degree. So even if your parents received a 2-year degree, an associate's degree, you're still considered a first generation student. So just a show of hands, how many would qualify as first generation students in our audience? And we do have several. So I am a first generation student myself. I am a graduate of OCTC also, and I went on and attended Eastern Kentucky University and got my bachelor's degree in psychology. Then I went on and obtained my master's degree in social work at the University of Louisville. So today we are here to celebrate all of our first generation students. First generation students, they have challenges, they have successes. They have challenges because they lack the support from family members to navigate college. Sometimes our first generation students don't feel a sense of belonging, or they lack the resources to persist in obtaining a college degree. So they also find out information about college from different sources. Could be family, friends, other folks. And that information may not always be right. I know one day I heard that someone thought TRIO students, they had to pay some of their financial aid to be in TRIO, but that is not correct. TRIO services are all free. So today we celebrate first generation students. Actually, yesterday, November the 8th, was selected as the day for the annual National First Generation College Celebration to honor the anniversary of the signing of the Higher Education Act of 1965, which was emerged from President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. And from that act, there were various federal programs that came out of that, such as the Federal Pell Grant, which gave aid to minorities and low-income individuals as a means to receive a college education. Also, TRIO programs were established to help support students through free services such as tutoring, peer coaching, individualized advising, financial literacy workshops, culture enrichment, and transfer opportunities. So, TRIO here on college does have openings if you would like to apply, and you meet the eligibility requirements of being a first generation student, or you're income eligible. That means that you probably are receiving financial support from the federal government, or you have a documented disability. You can apply online, and you can just Google OCTC TRIO, and you will find our website, and the application is right online. There are also other support services on campus. Other than TRIO, we have our Pathfinder den, the financial aid offices here, the counseling center, and Experiential Learning Center, and so many more departments that are here to support you. So I want to introduce some of our panelists. Each one of these panelists are first generation students themselves. And I'm believing they all are or have attended OCTC and they're OCTC graduates. So the first panelist we have today is Nicole Ralph. Nicole is the Title III Project Director and teaches political science at OCTC, where she has worked for nearly 15 years. She earned a Master of Public Administration from Western Kentucky University and is an OCTC alumni. Nicole knew at a young age that she wanted a career in the field of education. But as a first-generation high school and college graduate, there would be many obstacles to come. It is because of these obstacles that she feels compelled to encourage others to pursue their dreams, no matter what life throws at them. In her free time, Nicole enjoys spending time with her husband, Travis, and their very spoiled cat, Morty. Next, we have Miss Pamela Smith-Wright. She was the first African-American elected president of the Kentucky AMVETS Ladies Auxiliary. She has served as president of Post 119 and Post 75, and as state president, she oversaw 16 posts throughout Kentucky. In 2011, Pamela served as the first woman mayor pro tem in Owensboro. She was the top vote getter in the 2011 primary and general election for a seat on the Owensboro City Commission, in which she has recently retired. Pamela is a first-generation college student. She attended Owensboro Technical College, where she earned her cosmetology degree, and has owned her own beauty shop for over 30 years. She has also owned her own catering service, Tastefully Yours, for over 20 years. She is a Kentucky colonel and received the Owensboro Human Relations Meriton Award in 1999 and was a 2005 and 2010 Athena Award nominee. She was the 2011 recipient of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Citizenship Award presented by the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. State Commission. She is a graduate of Leadership Owensboro and the Kentucky Women's Leadership Network. She has been involved in many organizations in Owensboro, including serving in several leadership positions. Pamela is married to Eugene Wright, who is retired, and they have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Next, we have Waylon Millay. Waylon works as an administrative assistant in the OCTC Counseling Center. He has been in that role for 6 years and previously worked in student records for 4 years. He is an OCTC graduate and earned his bachelor's degree in 2005 in general studies at Western Kentucky University, Owensboro campus. He is a first-generation college student who has overcome many obstacles with the help from others. He enjoys working with students daily to help them overcome challenges and achieve their academic or career goals. And lastly, we have Antoine Rouse Smith. Antoine is a workforce solutions employer liaison career navigator at OCTC. He works predominantly with underserved students. He has had the privilege to work in a variety of industries, including retail management, nonprofits, and aviation. Although not natives, Antoine and his husband Jeremiah, 7 kids, their dog and cat call Owensboro home. In case 7 kids were not enough to keep him busy, Antoine also facilitates foster adoptive parent training support groups. He is a CASA volunteer on the board with Imagination Library, Owensboro Davis County Airport, and sits on multiple committees. And he is committed to tackling social injustices within marginalized communities, such as communities of color and the LGBTQ plus community. And Antoine, I believe you are a first generation student as well.
Correct.
And you're an OCTC graduate. I know you've earned your bachelor's degree just recently.
Process of bachelor's and master's right now.
And working on your master's
Yep.
as well. So let's give them a hand.
Okay, so question for everyone. Well, I'm just gonna, if you can't hear me, just let me know and I'll try to scream at you a little bit more. So our first question, as a first generation student and a student from a diverse background, what are some of the barriers that existed for you on your path to completing your college education? Yeah, jump in if anyone.
I'll go first. We'll just start down here on the end. We'll keep it simple. So in my situation, neither one of my parents graduated from high school. So there never was you're going to go to college, you're going to do this. There was really no plan as far as that was concerned. So I took it upon myself to venture out here to OCTC, and as I'm sure you guys experienced, that's a little bit of an overwhelming process to show up out here, not know anybody, not know what you're doing. Luckily, I chose to start here rather than to go to a 4-year university because it was a much more, it was an obstacle that I could tackle more so than taking on a 4-year university. But I still had no idea where to start. And I was in a situation to where I had no choice but to work full time. I needed the income. And back then, night classes, weekend classes were still very popular. And it took me 3 years to complete a 2-year degree, and then much longer to complete a 4-year degree, and then even longer to complete a master's degree. With numerous obstacles every time you turned around. But when you focus on a little bit at a time rather than the big picture, it's a lot easier to conquer some of those barriers.
Hi. Well, I'm probably not the traditional student that these folks are because I don't have a 4-year degree. I did graduate from OCTC and have my degree in cosmetology, but that's not a 4-year degree. My mother went to Tuskegee Institute at that time, where the Tuskegee Airmen's were, but she did not finish there because back home her mother was having kids, and so my mother is the second of 10 children. So she came home to help my grandmother raise the rest of the family. I have a sister that attended Arkansas A&M College in Pine Bluff, and she has a doctorate degree in home economics. So, you know, a lot of the things that were taught a while ago, they're not teaching today. But I learned so much when I came to OCTC because I went to St. Louis first to go to cosmetology school. And when I came back home and thought I was going to work, the hours were different. So I had to come back to school to get more hours to work in the state of Kentucky. And that was an eye-opener because when I went to school in St. Louis, the school was integrated. And when I came back home, I was the only black student in the cosmetology department. So we had some little problems trying to figure out how we were going to do this and teaching all a well-rounded course of cosmetology, not just one, like just white hair. So they had to adjust, I had to adjust. And, but I tell you, I don't think that the education that I received in St. Louis was any better than what I received here. And I'm so thankful that this community college is here in our city, because it offers those who can't afford to go somewhere else, or who can't go to a 4-year university, the opportunity to broaden their perspectives, their lives, and do great things. So, I'm one of those people that feel that not every person is a 4-year student, or should be a 4-year student. And I know for a fact that you can make really good money with a degree from this college. The thing that bothers me a little bit is the fact that the two things that I am most interested in, and that was cosmetology and the culinary, and I say this every time I talk about this college, and I'm now on the foundation board for the Kentucky Technical College system. But, they got rid of those things, and there will always, in my opinion, be people who want their hair done. And there will always be a spot for someone to prepare food for someone. And he missed it. He just walked in the door and he just missed my sermon.
You can repeat it.
He knew I was going to say it. He knew. But
you were sermonizing?
Yeah. But anyway, this is a great place, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Waylon?
Neither one of my parents had gone to college, but they encouraged me to do so. But just like Nicole, I had no idea of where to even start. So we came out here together, my mom and I. And, you know, this whole financial aid enrollment, it's a whole new experience. But everyone here was very helpful. But not knowing can be very scary. But the best thing I can do is, you know, just tell people to ask. If you're a first college student, if you don't know something, just don't hesitate to ask someone, because it can be overwhelming, especially if you're coming from high school. But I was very thankful for my experiences also, that I knew that I probably needed something on a smaller college to start out, because especially with my mobility issues, I wasn't sure how that was going to work. But the experience I learned here helped me to move forward onto the Western campus here in Owensboro to obtain my degree, and I went to night classes at WKUO and was able to obtain my bachelor's. So, but yeah, it can be overwhelming starting out of high school and going to college. So, as a first generation student, so.
For me, the barriers for going to college was really just the knowledge of what higher education was. So I'm a little different. I didn't go to OCTC at first. So directly out of high school, I needed housing more than anything. And at that time, the only way to housing was to live on a college campus. So I went to a 4-year college. I'll never forget, the English instructor walked in. She introduced herself as Dr. Robinson. And I said, "But you're not a doctor," because to me, all I knew was medical doctors. And she schooled me very quick on that there were doctors outside of the medical profession. So I use that story to say that for me, it was really just, what did higher education mean? I didn't understand student loans. 30-year-old me wish 18-year-old me understood student loans a little better, because I'm still paying on those. But then, so I was not successful my first go around, just because that barrier was a little too much. But then I came here to OCTC and was able to be successful. As Waylon said, it's ask those questions. If you ever are afraid to ask a question, just know I probably asked the same question 3 more times because I'm a question asker, because it's the only way that you will know. But ultimately, to answer the question directly, the biggest barrier was just the lack of knowledge surrounding higher education. It's just like in the library, you learn the Dewey Decimal System the entire time, and then they decide to switch you to the Library of Congress. So it was just those little things of not having that information.
Yeah, awesome. Man, Dewey Decimal System, I remember that. Man, getting old. How can colleges proactively help students overcome obstacles that could prevent them from being successful?
I would say my response kind of ties into what Antoine was just saying, and the earlier that the students can find out about the resources available, the more likely they are to be successful. And I think you pretty well heard all of us say we didn't know. We didn't know where to start. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know what to do. So it's really up to the colleges to make sure that incoming students know where to go. They know what to do. They know what resources are available. And I hear students all the time talk about how overwhelmed they are. And I get it, been there, I understand, but I also know students are very quick to give up when things get hard. And that, again, is where the college needs to step in and say, we have resources to help you financially, academically. If it is, you need something from the counseling center, there are plenty of resources. It's just the students don't always know that they're available.
Exactly. I don't know if all of you know this, but obviously you have Trio as a resource, but the Pathfinder Den, you can always just go down there and help with registration if you have questions. We interview, resumes, things like that, especially your department too, helps with interview prep and resumes. That's just my 2 cents. But go ahead.
I think that, and I'm sure that you do, but or that this institution does. But you know, when young people are in their sophomore year, I think you should get to them before their junior and senior year. That's just my opinion. I don't have any data on that, but I just think that the earlier that you can approach students and get them acclimated to some of the things that they're going to come in contact with when they do come to an institution of higher learning, that it takes away some of the fear, it takes away some of the angst and all those things that go along with coming to college, because it's like when you leave elementary school and go to middle school, there's a difference and there's a learning curve and everybody's, different. Well, the same thing when you leave high school and come to college. There's that point where you've got to adjust. So if they know some of the things that are going to happen to them when they get here, or some of the things to look for, the earlier the better, in my opinion.
Well, just like Nicole said, just to let students know that we do have services available to assist them, like tutoring in the library, because I know a lot of students struggle with math. And I know one thing, that students know that financial aid is available, but I think a lot of students think that they have full time to receive financial aid, and you don't. You can take a few classes and still receive aid. So just getting that out there to let students know that there are many resources available, and we're here to help you. And just as I said before, don't be afraid to ask. And even if you ask a question the first time and still aren't sure about the response that was given to you, don't hesitate to come back, because things change all the time. Students may change majors, so just know that resources are available to you. So.
Helping students overcome obstacles that colleges can do. One thing that I think that here at OCTC we do a fantastic job at is realizing that students are humans outside of these 4 walls or off of this campus. So there are real issues. So here at OCTC, we talked about the resources academically, but we also have food pantries on our main campus and our downtown campus. We have an amazing foundation that has helped students get gas cards, pay overdue light bills, that we understand that students are humans outside of these 4 walls, and that as first-generation college students, and even more so non-traditional students who have families and have to have jobs and things like that things do happen, and that we do have those options. So for colleges in general, is just realizing that students are students outside of these 4 walls. And like I said, here at OCTC, I have the privilege of working with students, and I've never had a student come to me and we not be able to meet a need that they have at that time, even if it's not an academic need.
Yeah, definitely. Excellent. This next question is kind of long, so bear with me as I read it. In the past few decades, we have seen a positive and dramatic shift in the makeup of campus populations in terms of race, ability, gender identification, religion, and other factors. You have told us earlier that having a diverse background along with being a first-generation student impacted you and caused some barriers while obtaining your education. Explain how this experience has molded you into the person you are today. It's a lot to say.
In my instance, I always feel bad when I say this, but looking at my parents, I knew I wanted more. I saw the struggles that both of them had and knew that was not what I wanted for myself. And I think because of that, it molded me into a very determined person. So if I set a goal for myself, I will do everything within my power to accomplish that goal. And I feel like in my situation, because nothing was handed to me, I had to work very hard for it. It makes me appreciate it that much more, and it makes me want to, in turn, help someone in the same way that I really could have used the help.
as I said earlier, that I was the only African American person in my cosmetology class when I came back home to go to school, but that's not happening now. I mean, I'm 72 years old, so that's been a while ago. That's been over 50 some years ago that I was in school, and so things have changed a lot, which goes into the second question. This is one of the things that I had tried to instill in the folks that I was dealing with in City Hall, is that in order for us to have a progressive city, we have to have diversity, because there are companies that are looking for diverse workforces. And if we don't have those things, then those jobs go somewhere else. So we have to learn, and the generation that's going on now, they do know this, but we have to learn that we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, but if we put them together and work together, then that just makes us stronger and better.
For me, I knew that I had to go to college because almost all my friends and family, they work in a factory or some kind of, maintenance or something like that. But I knew that really wasn't in the cards for me, so I knew that I had to get an education of some kind. And coming out here to OCTC has opened me up to different opportunities, meet different people of varying backgrounds, and hearing their stories and learning to listen to what their opinions and their viewpoints on different things. So that's where coming to OCTC has helped me to be inclusive of everyone and their opinions and what they have to offer and bring to the table as well.
For me, it's really it has molded me into who I am today. As cliche as it sounds, I've learned more from every failure that I've had than I ever learned from my successes. So I'm very thankful that I didn't succeed the first time, because I wouldn't have the knowledge and be able to connect and understand where students are coming from and things like that. So I think overall it's made me more of a compassionate person, to kind of go along with what Pam said, of kind of linking to the next question of why is diversity important for campus environments. It's seeing people who look like you. You have to be, it takes someone to be the first. I was 26 years old before I ever saw someone who identified as LGBTQ plus in a positive role in a leadership position. I didn't think that was possible for me. So knowing when I first went to college, I was very reserved. I know you guys can't picture that in any way, shape, or form, but I was very reserved because I didn't feel confident in social situations, because what if someone found out about something that I was trying to hide? So for me, diversity, being a part of a marginalized community, LGBTQ plus community, and being a first generation college student really has molded me into the person I am today, to want that diversity. And that diversity is so important on college campuses because people need people to look like them. When my daughter, who is in a wheelchair, she's going to look at Waylon and say, I can do that. I can not only can I go to college, but I can hold a job that has no barriers, right? When students who are, Black females look at Pam and say, I can be in leadership roles, when I hope one day a student who's LGBTQ plus looks at me and says, I can do it too, because they did. So I think that is ultimately, sorry to skip ahead, but that goes right into why diversity is so important. And thinking of all of you in the audience who said you were first generation college students, that you were letting someone else know, you're letting your siblings know, you're letting your friends know that they can do it too. So that was a long-winded answer for a long-winded question, though.
Okay, so Antoine, you already hit on this, so I'll get everyone else's thoughts, but why is diversity important for campus environments and communities?
So I'm going to put my instructor's hat on for this particular question. And in my political science classes, I explain to students that we all walk through life with glasses on, whether we actually wear glasses or not. And through the lenses of my glasses, I see the world as a white female. My mother was a single mother. My dad was absent, alcoholic, first generation student. Now as a person that has a master's degree, all of these things, as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister. Because of all of these things that make me me, I view the world through my own glasses. If I take my glasses off and I put Dr. Salon's on, Pam's on, any of yours on, I'm going to see things completely different because I'm looking at it through your perspective. If we don't have any diversity in the classroom, then we're only getting one perspective. We have no other perspectives. And, you know, especially when we think about politics and all of the different opinions, and if I only have one type of student in the classroom, well, there's not really a lot to discuss because we only have that one viewpoint. To whereas when I have had classes where I have had older students, young students, black students, white students, there's far more to talk about because they have different experiences than I do. I can put your glasses on, but I really can't be you. So I need your viewpoint. I want to hear. It's referred to as political socialization. Basically, all of the things that shaped you to have the opinions that you have. So it's important to have diversity so that you have all of these different perspectives.
That's a very good way to now I take your class.
It's fun.
But I'm already taking the class too. No more.
Okay, well, I feel like I answered that doing that other question, but I do want to leave you with something, because as I look around, everyone in here is white or other than Dr. and Antoine and myself. And you know, white people have a way of saying, oh, I'm you too. I'm sorry. you're the cameraman. But, you know, white people have a way of saying to people of color that they don't see color. You know, a lot of my black friends, a lot of my friends are black and blah, 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 all that stuff. But, you know, that's insulting. Because when you see me, I want you to see this color, because this is who I am. If you don't see color, then you're not seeing me. You know, and the first thing you see is that I'm a black person, whether you want to recognize that or not. When I walk through a door, people know whether I'm black or white or Hispanic or whatever. But it's important that you always recognize that people are different from you, they have different views from you, they come from different places, and their world is totally different. And that's where the learning comes from, is that once you find out all about someone else and the struggles and the things that they've gone through to be who they are, then it makes both of you a better person. I remember I was working in a white salon here. I was the first black to work in a white salon here, and the owner of the salon said to me, Pam, I want you to go shampoo Miss So-and-so. And I'm going like, okay. And this salon was one of the top salons in this community. It was called Miles and Irene's, and I don't know if nobody's here that knows that. But anyway, but as I went to shampoo the lady, she's going like, I don't want you putting your hands on me. And I'm going like, really? I'm just going to shampoo your hair? And she says, no, you can't. So there was a pizza shop right around the corner from where the beauty shop was. And I went around the corner to the pizza shop, and it was early in the morning, and the guy opened the pizza shop up for me, and I went in and I cried. And then when I calmed down, I went back. Never let them see you sweat, right? But I'm telling you, there are things that people do and just little things that people say that can just turn your whole day upside down. But those are the things that make you stronger, because I knew that this is the profession that I wanted to be in, and I was going to have to do what I had to do to make it. And so I had so many of those things to happen to me But that's when I went to, at that time, it was Owensboro National Bank, and said, can I borrow some money? I've got to work for myself. Because I went through like 5 beauty salons that had this thing. They hired me, but they had this thing, well, can you do your black customers at home? Well, you're asking me to break the law. And then one lady even told me, she said, you can do your mom here, but the rest of your black customers, can you do them at home? Because my customers are uneasy. I said, well, my mom's black. Why isn't she making them uneasy? So, it's crazy, but we all have to live in this world together. And so we all have to try to get along and understand our differences and make the best of it.
And just to kind of follow up on what Nicole said, you need diversity because you need a representation of how it is, out there in the workforce and out there in the real world, so to speak, because here at OCTC, you might kind of be in a bubble, but things are going to be a lot different when you get out to get your first job. And if you move away, things are, if you move out of state, you might run into a whole lot of people that you've never come in contact with that have varying opinions. And you need to have diversity to just kind of help prepare you for that, because things aren't always going to be how it is here at OCTC. And it just, knowledge helps you in that situation. So.
That is true. Antoine, do you want to add anything else? You good?
On to what Nicole said, I'll just say I love the way she put it with the lenses. And when she said that, I was thinking, I've never learned anything from someone with my opinion, right? Like we only know what we know, and it takes someone to know what we don't know to help broaden our horizons.
Exactly. It's learning a diversity of ideas and thoughts and things. You want to have it's good to have productive conversations where it's not, you're not disagreeing.
We can learn a whole lot from each other if we're just willing to listen.
Yeah, not scream at each other. So our final question, and we'll open it up for questions from you guys. Is there anything else about your experience at OCTC as a first-generation college student and a student from a diverse background that you would like to share?
I would say enrolling at OCTC or any college for that matter can be a daunting task. But I know, at least here at OCTC, the faculty and staff here will go above and beyond to help any student with anything that they possibly can. Regardless of a student's background, it doesn't matter. I've experienced now with the Experiential Learning Center students that come in and they have things on their criminal record, or they have a bit of a colorful past, and they have the question of, what do I put on my resume? There's gaps here, or I have this, and we'll help you. There's obstacles there, but we can help overcome them.
And Nicole, sorry, do you want to explain just real briefly what your department does for these students that could be really beneficial, especially in terms of internships?
Yeah. Thanks to a Title III grant, we have developed the Experiential Learning Center here on campus that will help you with a number of things. We will help you with career exploration, developing your resume, developing interview skills. I strongly encourage you, if you know what career you're interested in, get a taste of it. Make sure that is what you want to do. Personal story, I went to school to teach high school English. Got a taste of it. I don't teach high school English. And ironically, when I tell that story, usually I get, I went through the same. So you can come to the Experiential Learning Center and possibly do internship, apprenticeship, job shadowing, possibly get a mentor that can help you. Those things.
Great, thank you.
I just want to take this time and thank you all for putting this on, because this is what is needed for others to hear experiences that we've all had. And so thank you for asking me to be a part.
Well, one thing I know that going to school here at OCTC helped me with being a first generation college student is helping with my confidence. Because I remember years ago when I took public speaking for the first time, and I would still get nervous having to do that, but if it wasn't for my experiences here with the faculty and staff and the classes, I would have never been able to sit up here on a panel like this and talk. And so it helps you. Any experience you can get will be helpful down the road. So, because you never know, you might be talking on a panel, and then.
I would just say, give feedback. We're not perfect. No college is perfect. We're not perfect. Here at OCTC, we have grown leaps and bounds just in the few short years that I've been here. So as a first generation college student, as someone who may be from a diverse background, if you see something or if something doesn't feel right to you or you feel like there's a need that you have that's not being met, let us know. Those of us on this panel, those of the faculty and staff in the room, we are lots of things. One thing we're not is mind readers. As soon as Pam talked about wanting culinary arts and cosmetology, I want mind reading classes, Dr. Williams, if we can get that, okay? So we're not mind readers, but feedback goes a long way. If you let us know a need that you have, we will be more than willing to try to meet it. We want to meet you where you're at. So that would just be my advice, is speak up and give feedback and get involved. This is your campus, this is your community, and it is what you make it.
Great. Anybody have any questions?
I do have one. This could be for any of the panelists. And Pam alluded to this earlier, talking about, we're kind of centering your questions around basically letting the first generation college students in particular know what's available to them, what they can avail themselves of. And so Pam mentioned, getting that word out of knowledge as early as sophomore year in high school. And so obviously we can connect ourselves easier to the school system. So my question is, how do we get that word out or how do we get people who are potentially first generation college students, how do we let them know to help them make their decision to come to college that we have all of this support for them? There's all these support services and many, many different types of supports available to them. How do we get that word out? How do we reach those first generation college students? I will say potential first generation before they come to our buildings.
Can you not have like a college day at the high school and just have an assembly that representatives from OCTC goes and talks to them and then tell them, on this day we're going to be talking about this and you're invited to come. Hand out pamphlets and stuff and let them start getting their appetite wet for education, for another step higher.
I think, Becky, you might like this answer. I am proud that I was a trio kid in high school. At my school system, it started in high school. So for my freshman year, we stayed 6 weeks during the summer at Berea College on their campus. I know we don't have dorms and things like that, but I think just really that, for lack of a better word, immersion therapy to really see what it is, that it's not that big of a scary place. And I also think accessing the parents, because my mother didn't tell me about college and what college was, not because she didn't want me to go, but because she didn't know. So if I had that support system starting from home, I think that would have looked a little different as well.
Do you think you can partner with Wesleyan or Brusha for the rooms, because all kids are not going to go to a 4-year school, but they may be getting students from that same experience, and those that can't afford to do that would come here, but it would still give them some kind of idea of.
We've as far as like a camp might be available in the summer that we can bring them to housing. KWC and Brescia have both been, to be quite honest with you, very helpful in times of need. As Antoine mentioned, we've had students that did not have housing, so they've worked with us when they had available housing that we could move those students
That's great.
So they've done that in the past. So yeah, that's obviously can be an option as well. Good thought. Okay. Very good idea. So because I think our biggest challenge is trying to get the word out ahead of time to people, that are potential students, so they'll know that they'll have plenty of support if they come out, and that's to get them to make that initial step.
And I would say, and Trio, you guys can elaborate on this because you probably experienced this, but in the ELC, we're getting ready to roll out a mentorship program that would pair an OCTC alumni with an OCTC student. But we could take that a step further and have current OCTC students that actually go to the high schools to talk to students, because I feel like a lot of times I can talk to students all day long. It's one thing to hear it from me, but it's another thing to hear it from another student.
Yes,
I don't have a question, but a comment. First of all, thanks to Diversity Office and Trio for putting this panel together, and thanks to panelists for wonderful thoughts that you shared with us. With regard to reaching students early when they are in school, we have started a program where we are reaching out to middle school at this point, from 8th grade on. So, Sharma, you might have words to want to share those words.
Oh, yes, we have, several grant-funded programs that focuses on, middle school, high school. We do have a mentorship program going on right now with high school students where they come on campus and, we teach them everything about, financial literacy and about career counseling, transfer advising, if they want to go earn their bachelor's degree. So we do, we try to do a lot of things throughout the year, and I think at this point we might have, 2, 3, or 4 camps planned for the summer. It feels like it. I think 2 for sure. And a lot of it's going to be for middle school. We have workshops going on now where we're going to local organizations like Nevlet and Girls Inc. And talking to students about our allied health programs or some of our technical programs, like welding, CIT. And so those are perfect opportunities for us too to introduce them to what all we do offer here on campus. So I'm always up to, any other place we can talk to students, I'm all for it.
During the fall break, we did a program for Girls Inc., which was scrub craze under surgical technology. So efforts are happening. Dr. Williams' question is well taken. How do we reach back into the community? Because in high schools, the doors are open, we go, we make our pitch. We come back and hopefully have an impact. But reaching out in the community, the pockets where first-gen students are seated, and their parents are themselves afraid of the college campus. So if they see us like normal people coming to them, they'll be more confident sending their child to the college.
That kind of goes back to what Pam had said about getting them comfortable. You're making the unknown known.
So we have a lot of these camps and the students come to campus so they can experience like the college campus. It's not so scary. They're kind of used to coming here now, especially my ACE program students.
I think some of it too is, and I'll speak for myself, but as a first generation college student, I felt the need to get out of the town I was living in. And so while we have a lot of fantastic transfer opportunities, I think sometimes when people think OCTC, they think that's where I'm going to go if I want a 2-year degree or shorter. They don't think of that's where I'm going to start to go and get my 4-year degree. And we have so many direct transfers. When I went from here to Western, my advisor looked at me and said, I've never had to put someone in senior seminar their first semester here. So it's like you can take so many direct things. And I think sometimes it's that message, I think, gets lost, especially with first generation college students, because they just see, okay, I have a 2-year option or I have a 4-year option, not that my 2-year option is building on my 4-year option.
Any other questions? Do you know where Pathfinder Den is located? Trio office?
Yeah, the Trio is actually located across the street in the Learning Resource Center. We're in room 206. And,
Is that a question? No, just do
so we do have openings available in Trio, just those requirements. Just if you're a first generation student, you qualify. If you are receiving financial aid, you qualify just on that basis. Or if you have some type of documented disability, you qualify as well. We have openings. We would love to have you join our family over there. Again, thank you so much for attending today's celebration. We're celebrating you. And thank you to our panelists. Some absolutely wonderful information. Let's give them a hand.